has said to me, "You have a way of asking beguiling questions with potentially lethal consequences."
Yes,
and I said, "I'd be happy to have that on my coffin. Thank you very much." Thank you.
You would. Beguiling questions
with potentially lethal consequences. And I think you've got to ask beguiling questions in this area we're talking about now, about trying to get at the character of someone. I mean, it's got to be a beguiling question. It's got to be a question that relaxes them and allows them to speak more freely than they have before. And that's partially to do, isn't it, with forgetting when I talk to you, I forget we're on television, and that's your achievement. And I think that's one of the key things here. That, I mean, it is helping people to forget people. Just as you sometimes get very powerful people, and you suddenly realise they're terrified to be on television. And you've suddenly got to do 2 minutes of just rubbish with them to allow them to relax.
All right, Tony Blair.
I'm really bewildered and sad by the sort of unpopularity that set in with Tony Blair towards the end. In one sense, I understand, obviously, the Iraq War left its mark, its bloody mark, on everybody who was involved in it, and that's understandable. But he was so intelligent, so charismatic, so bright, that quite why the rest of the prime ministership went wrong, I'm sad about, because I would have backed him to have, left office with the plaudits ringing around his shoulders. Now, at the same time, of course, Iraq affects that. But apart from Iraq, I don't know why he left office so unpopular. Maybe he'll be reinstated by time and history.
He left office unpopular because of Iraq, did he not?
Probably, yes.
What do you mean, probably? I mean, what else was there that was sort of going against it?
Well, that's what I mean. It's bewildering. The dismissive things that the people who were being dismissive, and a lot of them were in Britain, were being dismissive about everything, about his whole prime ministership. And I don't understand that, because I understand that Iraq was a terrible mistake.
Everything.
But yeah, and there were things that he did well, things that he did very well. And that's the bewildering. You're absolutely on the spot there.
Twice. Who was the better prime minister? Margaret Thatcher, Tony Blair?
Well, I suppose that at this stage, although in fact Tony Blair often praised Margaret Thatcher, which surprised people because he's Labour.
And did not discard everything she had done.
Oh no, and followed in some of the ways. You would have to say at the time she went, there was a wonderful moment, just after she'd been ousted. There was a thing at the White House, President Bush, 41, giving her the Congressional Medal of Honor or whatever. And after this, and praising her and so on and so forth, and after this there was this dinner of about 80 people in the private sector, and Margaret Thatcher was there, and the one being honoured, although she'd left office only about 3 months before, 2 or 3 months before. And Dennis Thatcher, her consort, brilliant consort, because he never got into any trouble at all with his quotes or whatever. Right. The one thing he did do...
Was he a lawyer? What was her husband, a lawyer or not?
No, he was a Burma Oil executive, a businessman. And he had never given a speech ever in his life, never. So, this occasion, presentation to her and so on, and George Bush, typically of George Bush, was the one who quoted the famous phrase of her saying on one occasion, "George, now is no time to go wobbly." But the point was that he was the one who revealed
this was after Falklands, before Kuwait.
Yeah. And anyway, after dinner, George Bush stands up and speaks. And then Margaret Thatcher gets up and responds. And then Barbara Bush speaks and introduces Dennis. Well, all the English people go, what on earth is going to happen now?
We've never seen that.
Never. And he stood up and he said, as Julius Caesar said as he entered Cleopatra's rooms, I haven't come here to talk. What? Isn't that fantastic?
Great.
Fantastic.
Dennis.
His first ever speech. Ever. Probably his last, because he couldn't top that.
No. No, but so do I hear you saying you think Thatcher in the end was a better prime minister because she changed more?
No, I would say that because in the end there was the sense at the end of her rule that basically she'd got more things right or got more things through successfully than not. Whereas at the moment, Tony Blair, people are still concentrating on the things that didn't work.
Yeah. Can he pull it out in the Middle East somehow?
Yes.
That you think he can?
I think he could. Yeah, I think it's extremely difficult. I mean,
yeah, but he sees
he couldn't set himself.
Well, and he can look at Northern Ireland, and say, "Look, I did something."
Yeah, he really did.
I stick in there, and I'll stay
Northern
there.
Ireland was a phenomenal achievement. I mean, and if he can do that again, he can restore his reputation to what I would like to see it.
How do you get all these people, all these powerful people, to sit down with you?
The same reason that you do, which is that one of the things we do is we like people. You're fascinated, as I am, about what makes people tick. I mean, that's what's fascinating to me. Therefore, we listen, which is important, and we establish a relationship of some sort with the person that we're talking to. And therefore, it's an experience where they can relax and forget, not relax their minds totally, but relax
engage their minds.
Engage their minds, relax their personalities, and come over as they really are. Come over as they really are. That's right, defense mechanism. Because one of the rules for politicians all over the world is, for Christ's sake, be yourself. Because whenever a politician tries to be different on television, tries to be more solemn, or indeed more playful, whatever he isn't, he invariably comes out worse than if he'd stayed the way he really is.
Authenticity is the key.
Absolutely.
All right. Al Jazeera.
Yep.
You're on once a week?
Yeah, once a week, every Friday, 1 hour, about four to five interviews, sometimes with two people, but mainly with one. Satellite, 2 or 3 satellite around the world, where we can't get to everywhere in a week. But sometimes, when doing Gorbachev or someone like that, or the upcoming Commonwealth Conference, we'll go there for that. But obviously, we have people in the studio and we have people by satellite.
A whole new audience for you.
Yeah, it's very exciting. It's a worldwide audience. It's in 50 countries or just over at the moment. Started with 80 million homes, now more than 100 million homes. And the next year, their priority is America, because America, as you know, it's very difficult to see it. I mean, you can see it on broadband and you can see it on a few cable stations, but they want to expand that, which will expand the numbers and so on.
How are they going to do that?
Pardon?
How are they going to do that?
I'm not quite sure, but they're... but gradually they will. Because the thing is, the reaction to it, because what it is it's international. It's independent, and people love that. I mean, Norman Lamont, the former Chancellor of the Exchequer, said to me the other day, he said, you know, I always watch Al Jazeera English first of all the news channels, he said, because they're always telling me things I didn't know.
Norman's just trying to get on your good side.
Yeah, well, he succeeded, didn't he? Yes. And here I am talking nobly about him in America. He did it brilliantly.
He was good, wasn't he?
Yes, yes. He was beguiling, I think, don't you think?
The book is called Forrest Nixon, Behind the Scenes of the Nixon Interviews, the basis for the Tony Award-winning Broadway play. Thank you.
Pleasure.
My pleasure.